All right, guys, I'm back for another beer review because it seems, dare I say, productive. Usually, when I'm drinking, it feels like, oh, you're taking time off. But when I make it a review, it's like, oh, well, it's technically part of my business. So I have a fiduciary responsibility to continue drinking throughout the day. Today, we're going to go over Tarnation, which is a St. Arnold beer. I have a fond memory of this as being rich and robust, which is what it says. It's 9% alcohol by volume. If you look on starnold.com, they've got a listing of their year-round beers, and I just quickly kind of scrolled through. I think I've had the Lawnmower, and I don't think I've had any of the others. Maybe the H-Town. I'm not sure. I don't know if I have. I think I've had the Lawnmower before, but I need to check and see what else I've got stored in my fridge. I might have one of these others, but we're going to sample this in just a second. Here's a list. Again, this is starnold.com. Ain't no run-of-the-mill ale you're looking at. Most rootin' tootin' strong ale this side of the Guadalupe. All right. Malty, hoppy body. Let's see what it says on ingredients. Dude, I have no idea what any of that means. Even Kolsch, I'm not exactly sure. Is the Kolsch defined by the yeast? That's interesting. Hmm. I don't know. Is the Kolsch defined by yeast? Something we can do some research on. So let's crack this guy open. I also I'll try to remember to put a link down below. This is an OXO can or bottle opener. Not that I needed an OXO product, but this is so heavy and so stable in my hand. I had a cheap thrift store bottle opener, and it was one of those like gifts to myself where I'm like, I want a really solid bottle opener, as dumb as that sounds. And this, absolutely top notch. I really like OXO products generally. I think I also have an OXO can opener, but I'll put a link down below if you're looking to buy this, or you're looking for the pint glasses, these British style that I use. That's down below. So let's crack this guy open and see what we got. And that was not a twist off. However, I will say that my hands are extremely delicate from years of massage and body work. I have not a callus, so I did not want to injure myself in the drinking of my beer. And I remember from the color of the label that it was this color. It kind of matches the beer itself. We'll give that a minute. I kind of like St. Arnold. Let me look real quick at the website. I think they give information about St. Arnold. I wanted to check that out. I always like this these interesting little snippets. Interesting. Mayor of the Palace Bishop, who became a hermit, paternal ancestor and spiritual father of French Christendom. Charlemagne. At the point when the exhausted procession was about to leave Champignoules, one of the practitioners, Duc Nutto, prayed, "By his powerful intercession, the blessed Arnold will bring us what we lack." Immediately, the small remnant of beer at the bottom of a pot multiplied in such amounts that the pilgrim's thirst was quenched, and they had enough to enjoy the next evening when they arrived in Metz. Super, I don't know, a little bit of mythology, I guess, to how the stuff comes about. I know that that plays a factor in what I teach and do related to time massage. It's kind of interesting to play with. I also look at notions from Bruce Lee specifically about breaking away from tradition. So it's kind of interesting. I've seen this in Somm Into the Wine or Sommelier, in those films where the winemakers are talking about trying to produce, for instance, American wines. Not Italian, not French, not Australian. What is American wine like? And I think that's interesting. So let's go ahead and try this guy out. Deep, rich, roasted kind of malt. It's a very deep, almost reminds me of like cookies or oatmeal cookies, that sort of caramelized flour. Oh man, just rich, robust, malty, sweet. Um, this is something that I think I would probably drink on its own. Um, my experience, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe this is different for you. I think Texas food, barbecue, tacos, it's very strong on like smoked meats and like spicy salsa and things to cut the fat. And then we tend to want to drink lighter beers like lagers or pilsners with it. So my taste for mixing beer with food tends to be pilsners or lagers. This is much darker. Like I'm trying to think of. Let me see if I get my reading glasses. Like if they have any other information on the label, like if they talk about mixing it with food. It's rich, malty, and doggone tasty. We do say so ourselves. This is one you'd be asking yourself, what in tarnation? It's brewed and bottled by the St. Arnold Brewing Company. They're in Houston, Texas, which I did not realize. Patron saint of brewers, St. Arnold. Huh. So it's deep and robust. I think I would have this on its own, like if I was hanging out with beer friends to try to, sample some different stuff. Also, I wonder about this, and let's think about it for a second. So you have something like this, deep, rich, roasty, malted. Do you have lighter beers first and then move to darker beers? Or do you start at darker beers and move towards lighter? I don't really know. When I'm trying to think about it, it seems like, would you go from a lighter, crisp beer and then almost overwhelm yourself with like flavors and malts and toasty stuff later? Because if you went in reverse, it would be like boom of all this stuff and then it decreases. It's almost like, would you go from super spicy salsa to lighter? And it's like, nah, you'd probably work your way up. So I don't know. Super rich, tasty. Reminds me a little bit more of like a porter or maybe even a barley wine style. Maybe it's because of the alcohol volume as well. I love the color, the darkness. I love the way its color fits inside like the good, beer stein. The label matches. Now that I'm looking at it, and again, I always had to put on reading glasses to see fine print. It's nice to see a local, beer company putting something together with their own little bit of mythology. It's interesting again to see, beer makers are not trying to make British beer. They're not trying to make German beer. They're not trying to make Belgian beer. They're taking the traditions and modifying them for the American marketplace, which I'm supremely interested in from a culture standpoint. Just heavy malt. That thing you taste if you haven't had it before, like malted milk balls, a little bit. It's it's so rich. It's almost like coffee. Like it's got a deep, richness. It's crisp at the end, but it's not like a pilsner or a lager. It's got a different flavor profile, just like really rich and robust. It almost makes me think of like a dessert beer, if that makes sense. Like, not that I couldn't have a couple of these and hang out, but the combination of that with food to me seems like it might be a little overwhelming. Um, you'd have to be very careful about pairing the beer with certain foods. Not that it couldn't be done. I've had the same thing with wine. By the way, if you ever go to a fancy restaurant and they have a sommelier, if you get a good sommelier who's really going to walk you through. I'm a big fan of fine dining. You get a 5, 6 course meal and you get a sommelier to pair wines with the meals. It's completely blown me away because they just spend their time with like tasting notes on various things and pair wines in ways that I just wouldn't think to as a novice. Absolutely amazing. This is a good beer. I don't think it's my favorite. I have a tendency, just like I do with tequilas, where I'm going towards blancos. I feel like this is a little rich for what I wanted at the moment here. If I can get that on camera. St. Arnold right there. Rich, roasted, toasty malt. It's not just a higher alcohol content. It's just like, so you know how the inside of a biscuit is white, but the outside of the biscuit is that roasted, toasted, caramelized flour? That's that, like that roasted piece. Supremely good beer. You guys check it out. Again, you can go to starnold.com and check out their website, their various beers. Looks like they're in Houston. Maybe I have to stop by the brewery next time I get out there. If any of you at the St. Arnold Brewery want to come on, any of the brewmasters, you guys want to come on and do like a podcast with me, review some of the other beers, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you guys so much for producing this tasty, tasty beverage here. And I'll see you guys again soon on Salud with Robert Gardner. Appreciate you.